Hey everybody, it's me, Chris Herman, here for another episode of On Deck. Today I sit down with a really cool and interesting guy. His name is Maxence. He has a company called 26 North Productions. They are a Fort Lauderdale-based art production, art curation, and event production company. Really cool and interesting guy, great spirit. We talk about the local South Florida art community, his entrance into the space, and then additionally we talk a little about fitness, running, and some yoga and meditation stuff. So yeah, we covered a lot of ground. I'm certain that Maxence will be back at some point in time. We'll have another conversation, but without further ado, here we go. It's Maxence. Maxence.
That's me.
I pronounced it the right way?
Maxence.
Maxence.
That's the English translation to a very unique French name.
Now, in French, would it be pronounced a little bit different, right?
Correct. In French, it'd be pronounced Maxence.
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 Maxence. But in this case, it's Maxence.
There you go.
Like Max and Essence together.
Yes.
Sort of. Interesting.
The essence of Max.
All right. Well, welcome, man. You're on deck.
I appreciate you.
You got it, man. I appreciate you. You know, we've just met. My wife, Irviana, met you at an event for Venice Magazine, of which you are a writer and other things. If I don't get that right, I apologize. And she introduced us via social media, and here a few weeks later, now we're meeting. We just had a little chance to catch up and get to know each other a little bit, which already I'm like, oh shit, there's a lot of stuff I want to talk to this guy about. You know, we touched on a good bit, but
I appreciate
to
that.
give you a more appropriate formal introduction, you are also the owner of 26 North, right?
That's right.
Which is if I will say it the best that I can, an art curation and event experience production company. Would that be reasonably decent?
That's a mouthful. You always want to work on that elevator pitch, right? You only got 30 seconds, and
right. Even
people's attention spans have even gotten less and less over time. Yeah, we're an art agency, just to keep it short and sweet.
Okay.
Yeah, my name is Maxence. I'm the owner of 26 North. We're an art agency based in South Florida. Our art agency focuses on event production as well as art curation. It's like a 1-2 punch.
Right. Yeah. Of which there is no shortage of need and or desire for that down here. I mean, anybody who has spent any time in South Florida over the last 10, 15 years. I mean, we've been witness to and been able to watch this incredible explosion of, creativity, the art community, whether it's here in Fort Lauderdale or whether it's down in Miami, Art Basel, Miami Art Week. Now you have this whole crypto NFT technology world coming in, which there's going to be another, I think, explosion of creative something, And I think we all know that there's no shortage of events here in South Florida either, right? Like
you took the words out of my mouth. Yeah.
You can't even go in a men's room without there being a DJ in there.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, it's great. There's like to finish your sentence, there's no shortage of events in South Florida and Florida as a whole. So lucky and grateful that we live in a beautiful state of Florida where even post-COVID and even during COVID, things were still growing and manifesting. Events were still happening. Obviously with like limited capacities, mask mandates. There was at one point sanitizer bottles every 5 feet, but there were still events that were happening. You've got, in this beautiful county that we're in, you've got the FLIBS, Fort Lauderdale International Boat Show, is a huge international festival. You've got, in Miami, you've got, the beautiful, like Ultra Music Festival, Miami Music Week. In Palm Beach, you've even got the Palm Beach, the art fair. It's like an international art fair that happens. So, you know, even Tri-County, there's just so much going on. And so we're we're a little sliver of that. We really are. And, we stay humble, but we create a large impact through the arts. And
so maybe more specifically, give me a little bit of example of something that you guys have done in the last period of time, and what it takes for you to pull this stuff together. Because I think it's really interesting from the component of the art curation, and then taking your food and beverage history that you've shared with me and into more of that event creation.
Where do I start?
I don't know. Wherever you want to, man. It's all you.
I could start at the humble beginnings where I dubbed myself an art curator, and or I can start to where I'm currently at today. And it's been a long journey, and I'm just at the forefront of it.
Well, let's start at the beginning. Like what got you into all this, and where did you start with all that? Maybe that's a better place for us to begin.
I'm with it. Humble beginnings started as a server at an incredible restaurant called One Door East and Valentino's, based in Broward County. It's one of the best restaurants in Broward County. It's an Italian, more of a northern style Italian instead of southern. Typical American palate, Southern Italian is going to be your red sauces and your meatballs and stuff. That's what the American palate knows. But this was more of like a French style Italian restaurant. So
love that
you've
place.
Got your beurre blancs and your bechamels and your white sauces and your fresh fish. I mean, it was an incredible restaurant, and it was so that was with the Valentino side, and then you had One Door East, which I worked at, which was like almost like darker, edgier, kind of like mixology forward restaurant. And the restaurant food spoke for itself, but its events were a little bit lacking. And as a server, there was an opportunity there to host an event. And so I spoke to the owner, and I was like, hey, why don't we get some art in here? Why don't we throw some events? And he was like, I'm for it. And he was like, have at it. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, I'm letting you do whatever you want to do. And I was like, all right, I'll do that. So ended up curating some beautiful art. Had a beautiful art show. The event was called Locals Support Local, and it actually ended up being a skyrocket night. We ended up breaking records on food sales and liquor sales. I remember seeing the bar was 3 deep, and I was the host of the evening. I was not a server, so I was wearing a really nice two-piece, really nice speed jacket, same hair, same look. But it was one of those where people were like, wow, Maxence, really wow. And what made this event really a big thing for us is, all the components that I brought in. We had liquor sponsors, we had a food sponsor, we even had a Jeep. We had South Florida Jeeps that came in as a sponsor. And what I did was different is instead of live painting art shows, which most people have been to, our live painting, our canvas that people painted on was a Jeep. So we brought a Jeep into the restaurant, moved tables around, and had an artist live painting this brand new. It was a 2018 4x4 JK, JKL or whatever it was, and painted this Jeep, and he had painted 80% of it before the show was there. But regardless, he had painted the other 20%. We displayed about 30 pieces of art, and all the art sold. The Jeep was a banger, a great place for Instagrammable moments, record sales for the restaurant. So it was just a win-win-win all around. Literally, restaurant made money. The Jeep company got so much content. They were so happy. The artists sold art. It was a win all around. And that was my first success. And
how cool, man.
Yeah.
You had to be grinning ear to ear as this is happening, right? Because it's you get this opportunity, you're like, all right, fuck it, I guess I know what I'm doing here, and you pull it together and it's a hit.
You know what's great is I was cheesing on the inside, and you could tell. I was wow, I did this. I'm no longer just a server. Now I'm the event coordinator. Now I'm the art curator. Now I'm the guy. And I love the owner, Giovanni, for this. He said, beginner's luck. He said, can you do it again? And so that's when really the journey started.
Right.
I was like, well, let me create a whole proposal and start like breaking down. And literally I was like, let's create activations now quarterly. So I gave them a proposal for quarterly shows. After not even 3 quarters, 3 more events of shows at the restaurant, they were like, let's do this monthly, because record sales and all the partners and vendors and people were loving it. And that's, and after the second show, the third show, he came back to me and he's like, you got something. So it was nice.
Dude, that's awesome.
Quick
question, quick aside. So let's talk about Valentino's just for a second. So I remember the first time I went to because I used to live in Fort Lauderdale. Now my wife and I lived in Aventura for a while. Now we live in Hollywood. Blah, blah, blah. There was a Valentino's was originally on the west side of Federal Highway. Federal Highway, in like a small shopping center.
You're right.
That's where it started.
You're
I
right.
remember being there. And then you guys moved to that beautiful corner spot.
Correct.
Which, I'm not in Fort Lauderdale anymore. It's not there anymore. Now it's Canyon.
Correct.
I remember driving by Canyon, like, where the hell did Canyon go? And then somebody said, well, it's where Valentino's used. So like, what happened there? Because that was such a, like, Valentino, you're right. It was not your typical, like, meatballs and red sauce kind of Italian place. Nothing against that, right? Love that. Love it. But it did have a nicer kind of northern Italian feel. It was a really great restaurant.
Yeah.
Open kitchen.
I mean, to answer your question shortly, I think the restaurant industry is one of those industries that gets like beat up on the regular. Not even mentioning COVID, but mentioning COVID, I think it's one of those that like the restaurants, between the margins, between like keeping staff, between always being hip. I mean, how many Wine Wednesdays can you have before it's boring, right?
Right.
So I think restaurants just have always had it really tough. And so how do you stay relevant? How do you constantly update your menu in a way that where your regulars and your regular patrons don't feel like they're you want like the same menu because that's what your regulars like, but then you also want new faces because you want to be like, oh, we have a new menu that we're about to release and you guys should come and check us out. So I think the restaurant industry has always been tough, and so Valentino's just had a tough time, over the many years that they were open, and Canyon saw an opportunity, but I think from what I've heard, I think Canyon is going to be changing too. I think Canyon might be staying, but I think the restaurant next door, Prima Donna's, which is currently Valentino's, I think might be changing, but I don't know. Time will tell.
Right.
I mean, it's one of those things.
Now, you mentioned earlier when we were speaking before the show, that you are first generation immigrated from France.
Right.
So that means you were born here, but your parents came from France, right? Or were you born in France?
I don't know. I might have been wrong with the way I described it to you. I was born in France.
Okay.
Born in France. Born in Cannes, France. Cannes in the southeast.
Sure.
The film festival is at. Beautiful boat show as well, international boat show. So born in Cannes, and then left the country right before school starts in America. So around like 4 or 5.
Okay.
Is where I came to the United States.
Now your involvement in in the food and restaurant community, I listen. I mean, I told you earlier my dad was a big foodie and actually had been to Cannes when I was a kid because Cannes is near Nice. Blah blah blah. But is there sort of a familial history with food and cuisine and wine in your family that kind of has led you in this direction?
I think by the age of like 6, I knew how to open up a bottle of wine. So, to answer your question, I think that's always been something that's been really important in our family. Is like through thick and thin, work, stress, life, anything that comes your way, when, dinner's on the table, you just kind of like enjoy,
right,
and appreciate and share. And so, food and dinner, and that's always been really important in our family. Yeah.
We talk, on a number of different episodes here, that's been a recurring theme that quite frankly I haven't talked about recently, but it's just like, You know, the beauty of being able to come together and spend time over a nice meal, nice bottle of wine, and just like not only the experience, but like the, you know, the conversation and the memories that come from those type of experiences are really beautiful. And I think a lot of times in this more fast-paced, you know, American world, if you will, or that we live in, that stuff gets so quickly overlooked. And I always love to hear of people coming from the old world, if you will, where those traditions and that love and that passion for the excellence in the cuisine and wine is just like it's part of who you are.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah, here it's very fast. It's very like the way of living. There's never a day of rest in America. I think people live for the weekends. By the time the weekend's over, you got to like go back to your hamster wheel, just get back on that 9 to 5 and you're right back to it. You know, which is unfortunate because by the time, you know, you're 40, 50, you know, 60 and you're retiring, you have that like midlife crisis and you're like, wow, I haven't slowed down. I haven't taken any vacation days in years. And then you realize like you've missed out on so much, you know, where our family has always been like, you know, take it easy, man. So I've always had that mentality. Take it easy, enjoy it, and sun comes up the next day, you know? So
exactly. You know, from your perspective, and I guess it's kind of a pretty wide open question, but you know, the South Florida arts community is really it's just been exploding over this last period of time. You know, as somebody who is really like, you know, super hands-on involved with it, what do you see? You know, where does this go? What does this mean for the artists who are able to participate? Are they able to make a living and actually, you know, enjoy life as a result of the size of the community?
It's a pretty loaded question. Yeah, the arts as a whole, I believe, is something that is becoming more mainstream. Mm-hmm. And so when things become more mainstream, you have more eyes that kind of focus on it, which is great. So a lot of local artists are getting more support from their community to continue doing what they are doing. I do see that, which is great. I think my background with event production, I believe that also further supports the arts. You've got huge music festivals like Tortuga Music Festival, Sunset Festival, Ultra Music Festival. You've got all these music festivals that are also now they're paying local artists to like spray paint walls and create activations, both immersive as well as live painting. There's a lot more focus on that because it is mainstream. So now you've got these titans that have the budgets that are paying artists for these opportunities. So I would say as an artist, like, or as a current artist, like, don't stop doing what you're doing. Like, keep pushing, keep promoting yourself, keep working with other entities, other brands, because there are a lot of opportunities. But on the flip side, right? On the flip side, you know, as many opportunities as there are, it's still a struggle on a day-to-day basis. There's not necessarily, you know, a studio spot for an artist that's available. You've got, especially in South Florida, you've got the retail market, the commercial space that is ultra high, is ultra expensive. So now you've got artists that are like, you know, they have to dedicate like another room in their house as a studio space, which is a little bit counterproductive because you've got these, you know, if you've got a collector that's serious, you don't necessarily want to bring a collector to your house. You know, it's a little bit faux pas, not necessarily, but
right.
You know, so it's one of those two where like the Florida market, I would say like companies are accepting artists, but I would say like the real estate world could care less about artists, you know, in one aspect.
So I guess what you're saying is, you know, typically, you know, in previous years before like what we're really seeing with this real estate boom right now, you know, artists would have some sort of studio space where they were able to work, able to display, maybe have a little bit of an event here or there to be able to draw attention to their work, and that's drying up right now.
It's drying up. Yeah. It seems like city by city, you know, Hollywood does a great job with this. They've got like, you know, monthly art walks where they've got dedicated gallery spaces. kudos to Jill on that. Jill W. She's running Hollywood over there. But you've got places like Fat Village in Fort Lauderdale and Mass District that recently were purchased by just real estate tycoons, so just real estate, commercial developers that saw the opportunity, saw that people are walking through the area. There's a lot of heavy foot traffic, and they're
Right.
like, we could put, beautiful 1630 story residential complex, and people will love it. And people do love it, and people are moving down here, but it's kind of pushing out the artists,
Yeah.
So.
I mean, typically artists have always been able to find out of a sort of a creative eye of being able to see the potential, and also B, out of a financial limitation, right? That there was always this ability to go into tougher areas that, needed some cleaning up, but that had creative potential. And so we've seen that, that's Fat Village was an example of that. Wynwood is an example of that, where people went in and refurbished the area, if you will. Yeah, you wonder though if those spaces are starting to become more limited down here in Florida as this. You go down by Fat Village where I used to live, and now there's like 6 new condo buildings. I was like, that wasn't even they hadn't even broken ground on that a few years ago, and now it's like it's just condos and all that stuff everywhere.
I think if you really want to define yourself as a true artist, you really should just paint from the heart. You should create from the heart.
Mm-hmm.
That's really where it comes down to is it's a self-expression of, what you feel on the inside, emotions captured through your medium. And that's it. Anything else, i.e. Clout, sales, money, Instagram followers, those are all perks of being an artist. But ultimately, as an artist, you should just want to just create from your heart. And I feel like that idea of being an artist is very catchy. It's very trendy. But I feel like if you're an artist, man, be an artist and just keep crushing it. Keep the way I like to say it is there's that beautiful iceberg, keep chipping at it every single day. And it'll be a beautiful swan one day, but no expectations. Just keep chipping away,
Mm-hmm. Really just being focused on your craft for the enjoyment of it. Do you feel that, has social media and the ability for anybody with the right effort and skill and understanding, creative people now have the ability to create an audience for themselves, right? That they didn't have before. And certainly along with an audience, if done the right way, you can create, your audience, you can expose yourself, and you can put yourself in the position where you can financially benefit from your work, right? Definitely. So I'm kind of tying back to what you're saying. Do you feel that has perhaps given people who are not quite as artistic the ability to be artists because they can present themselves in a particular way where maybe there's a little bit less struggle, maybe there's a little bit less of that alone working at something because that's just what you have to do?
Yeah, definitely. As a curator, I can't necessarily have an opinion on one artist that's better than another. I just have to say, that's their expression, right? But now that art being mainstream as it is, I feel like everybody wants to be an artist, and everyone is allowed to be an artist. Please, express yourself. Whatever is within, share that. That's why we attached to certain musicians, because they speak from their heart, and it attracts to us because we're like, oh wow, I can relate to that. Or somebody who's doing a beautiful, it could be a beautiful performance, a dance. You all of a sudden you see the music that's attached to the performance, and you're just instantly attracted, and so it's beautiful to see people. It's that transference of energy, right? Circling back to what you're saying with the presence of social media and the whole digital era that's becoming, I think it makes art a little bit more accessible to everybody. Mm-hmm. Now you don't have to be at that performance to see that artist. Now you can see it on a video screen, and they could be in Sweden, and all of a sudden you're watching it on your couch, and you're just inspired by that person, which is great. Isn't that what we want? Is we want to inspire as many people as we can with the certain medium that we found. So for all the better is what social media has done. And so I use social media as a tool. I consider social media a game. I've got my followers, I've got my clout online. But for me, it's a resume. It shows the past work that I've done. It shows what I bring to the table, and it shows like what I can do for you as a client, as an artist. And I look at it as a tool. And I love where art is going in the digital space. I feel like it's the new frontier. I feel like back in the day, and let's circle back with music, only because like I love the space that we're currently in. This is an incredible like studio that you've built. You've got incredible just music everywhere, or music everywhere. You've got instruments everywhere.
Yeah.
But I think like back in the day, it was mostly like, and I love like rock and roll music, like your Led Zeppelins and your Red Hot Chili Peppers and your traditional like all-star rock stars. Back in the day, it was always about like the music and the instrument and what made it sound like. The sounds that were coming from the instruments were so important.
Right.
That's like grown and changed now with this whole digital, era. Now you've got production studios that are just massive and they're huge, and I might be speaking in an area that I'm not too familiar with. Maybe this was around back in the day, but I feel like even more so is this whole digital era where like the digital is enhancing everything. So like digital is like enhancing the musicians, digital is enhancing the arts, digital is enhancing just all aspects of life. Digital is enhancing marketing. I mean, look at print and audio and radio and all these things that like were very, very so common, if not the only solution. Now it's expanded because of like this digital era. So I think like as an artist, you have to appreciate the change. You shouldn't fight the force. You shouldn't, as an artist, you want to go against the flow. You shouldn't necessarily have to go against the flow. You should flow with it and be like, yo, dude, I'm so glad that social media can make it so I can share my word and share my expression and pass the good and share the good. Like that's, accept it, appreciate it, run with it.
I agree with you. I've said this before. I think we are entering a time where it's quite possibly the greatest time ever to be an artist for a number of reasons. One, let's assume, that all artists have the same pure desire to create and express, right? Okay. Now, as an artist, whether you're a musician, whether you're a writer, whether you're a painter, whether you're a graphic designer, whatever, you now, through social media, have the ability to generate your own audience and draw attention to yourself and your work, so that you can hopefully financially benefit from that. Now with Web 3.0 and this whole NFT thing that's going on, and being able to, and being able to produce and curate your own work and put it out there to the world, right? In a way that you can financially benefit via selling the work. Additionally, being able to bill in retroactive commissions on every piece that sells from that point forward.
Third, fourth, yep.
Like now you're talking as an artist, you can be a business person from the sense that you put your heart and your soul, you create this amazing stuff, whatever it is, you sell it, and then every transaction down the road, you're able to actually recoup.
Get some benefits.
Yeah, and get some benefits. And that's fair, that's equitable. And you know what, quite frankly, as somebody who grew up, and I'm all about classic rock, grew around too, but my musical like real thing that happened for me when I was in high school was punk rock and hardcore. So I got really into like all these really independent bands on independent record labels and fuck big major record labels and all that stuff. So I appreciate this sort of DIY aspect that artists have at their fingertips now, because you can go direct to public with your creations and make money and survive and thrive, and you don't need some jackass company or executive coming in telling you how to shape your career. Not to say that might not be helpful to some people, but like you can do it yourself. I think that's fucking awesome, and I think it's a great time for artists to be able to do their thing.
Agreed. I salute those that are artists that are entering Web3 and that whole space. I think it's still very wild, wild west.
Totally.
It's my opinion, which, a lot of people will agree. But then again, you know, what was is, right? And so what was confusing in the past is current. And so it's a little confusing now, but in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, I mean, it'll be what's present everywhere. So, you know, these like crazy acronyms keep coming out with like, you know, what is this? What is an NFT? What is this? And people are like trying to like create boxes for what is currently the wild, wild west. And you can't put a box on something that is this digital space that's going to connect everybody. And I'm running on a tangent. Yeah, as an artist, you should feel like there's every opportunity given to you. And you should always want to work out with anybody and everybody. I feel like, especially post-COVID, everybody wants to help everybody out. Like, it's like, you know, you invited me to this podcast is a way for us to connect, both professionally as well as like create a sense of friendship.
Sure.
You know, over time, you know, it's a beautiful thing. I feel like everybody has an opportunity to shine, and I feel like everybody's just like on this hustle grind too. It's just like, you know, what do you do? What do you do? But what do you do on the side too? Like, what's your side hustle? Like, where's your passion project at? You know, and I love that, and I feel like everybody's an artist. You know, I love curating art shows. I'll have 10 artists that were displaying at an art show. And for the longest time, people would come up to me, dreadlocks and tattoos, and they'd be like, "Oh, are you one of the artists that's displaying?" And then I, bashfully would say, "No, I'm not, which is the truth. I'm not the artist this evening. I'm the curator, and these are the artists. Let me walk you around. Let me show you. Let me explain to you." But I always had a rough time finding out what is my artistry. And recently, this past January, I was given the opportunity to start writing for Venice Magazine. Venice Magazine is a luxury lifestyle magazine based in South Florida. And writing has always been something that I've loved. And so I've been given this opportunity to do what I love doing, which is great. Like, I have this just incredible little side hustle main job. I don't even know what it is anymore, but it's like, but I like love it, and I get to express from the heart what I love and what I do, and get to write from the heart. So it's great.
It's important to be able to have that, and you've said so many things that are just triggering things for me. So number one, not triggering, stimulating thought. Triggering has such a weird connotation.
Knee jerk.
Yeah, right. But the point is, like, yes, everybody kind of can be an artist right now. People are living much more creative lives. The whole 9 to 5 in the office thing, COVID, good, bad, or indifferent, kind of blew all that stuff away, and it's really changed how people work, how they approach their lives. And it's
crazy we're still talking about it. Like, COVID happened like 3 years ago now.
No, it's two, a little bit, 2, but a little over 2. But it's really made such a big impact on how people operate, and then social media giving people the flexibility to kind of do their own thing. What you're talking about is far more common. It's like, what are you doing? What's your thing? What's your side hustle? Like, people are just doing their thing, as opposed to necessarily like, I've got my job and then I go home, right?
Right.
But that was just a little bit of an aside. I thought of my question now. So when you're as a curator of art, right? What are you looking for, right? Because, and just let me give a little context. In a lot of cases, you're curating maybe for a specific event that you're putting on, and that event may have a particular feel. Your client may have a particular goal in mind in terms of the mood or the vibe they're trying to set, right? So what is it in the context of that? Like, what are you looking for as you curate pieces for either an event or a showing?
So, love this question. Formally, my background is not an art curator. I did not go to school for art science, art history, art artistry. I did not go to an art school. So it's interesting, because in the beginning, when I first started my career, with my company 26 North, specifically like that art show where we painted the Jeep, I recall telling people, "Yeah, I'm the art curator," and people were like, "Oh, that's incredible. We're speaking to the right gentleman." What art school did you go to? And I looked at them and I said, "I went to Florida State University." And they're like, "Oh, oh, didn't know that was an art school. They're like, what did you study? And I was like, marine biology. And they're like, nothing is being pieced together. And so I realized that actually an art curator is actually an incredible, very, not premium, that's not the right word, but it's a very, what's the right word? It's a privilege to be an art curator. It's actually something that through time, like you have to go through art school, art history, you have to have worked for several galleries, possibly a museum, and get a lot of recognition for, you know, writing, for all these, you're essentially like giving voice to artists that need promotion. That's what a true art curator is. At the time, I only knew primary colors, you know, red, yellow, blue, and that's where my art career kind of started. That's not to say that's really where it started. Father has been, you know, in the art scene in Wynwood. If anybody knows where Wynwood is at, it's pretty much LA 2.0. Has been there for the last 10 years, 15 years, supporting and bolstering the arts. Mom has been as an art teacher for Broward County Schools for 10 years plus, 10, 15 years. And so I've always had the arts surrounded by me. But as an art curator, me as a self-entitled art curator, it's grown. Now, 4 years later with my company, I feel very comfortable telling my clients that I'm an art curator, because as an art curator, I provide ROI, I provide branding, I provide a landmark for their establishment, residential, commercial, retail, nonprofits, you name it. At this point, we're creating a sense of community through art. For instance, recently I had a business reach out to us, and cute little ice cream shop called Razzleberries. Awesome ice cream. Definitely recommend it. No, this podcast is not sponsored by Razzleberries, but do recommend it. So Razzleberries, they're opening up the 3rd location in Fort Lauderdale, and they wanted a mural on the exterior of their wall. And as a curator that looks for art, A, I've got a whole Rolodex of artists. B, I'm trying to create an ROI. Why do you call our company? Why? Because I want you to see art as an investment. So what did we do for this building? We took a standard ice cream cone, which is, when you like look at it from like, an ice cream cone is a 3-dimensional object, but like what you're doing with a ice cream is let's make it flat, right? 2-dimensional. So you've got a waffle cone on the bottom, and then on top you've got ice cream, right? Mm-hmm. Like an ice cream, whatever. So that design, we kind of turned that into a wallpaper and actually did that on the whole building. And so we made it so there's like a waffle cone on the bottom, and then you've got ice cream that's kind of like falling on the top from the building, and then we put sprinkles on it all around, and we did that as like a wallpaper, so to speak, around the whole building, and just created a landmark. And I kid you not, it's a hit. It's an absolute hit. It's absolutely like, it's one of those now that like people drive by and they're like, this is beautiful, and people know what it is. They look at it and they're like, oh my god, like
where is it? I want to see it. Where is it?
It's off of Sunrise, and it's a Sunrise, the Gateway Shopping Plaza. It's behind there. There's the Gateway theater, like movie theater. Yes, that's there.
Okay, so it's
kind of, if you meander back there, like that neighborhood, what's it called, Rio Vista, or is it Victoria Park? I always get them confused.
Whatever you tell me, I don't know.
So tucked away back there, I mean, just drive, do a couple spins in that area, you'll find it. It's beautiful, cute little shop. So Sunrise Gateway Shopping Plaza. It's a mouthful. Sunrise Gateway Shopping Plaza. Right. In that plaza is this cute little ice cream shop. Or you can Google Razzleberries.
Yeah, I got the general area now.
I'm overcomplicating it.
No, it's okay. I'll find my way in there.
Yeah, Razzleberries. And so that's what we do for clients, is like you reach out to us and you want art to bring an ROI, and so that's what we do. And that was cute. You know, it was a small little budget, and we did a great project. We've had really big projects. We've worked with the Florida Panthers and the Chamber of Commerce. So the Florida Panthers are a hockey team. here in South Florida, but east side, not the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Right.
But the Florida Panthers reached out, and they're like, we want to create our national brand, but at a local level. We know that you do murals. What do you recommend? And I was like, well, you guys are a big company. Like, let's do a big mural. And we ended up finding a relationship with the Fort Lauderdale Chamber of Commerce. They had it was a north side facing wall. We ended up painting a 100-foot long by 40-foot high massive mural that is it's almost like a collage, so to speak, of like South Florida. You've got like waves, you've got palm trees, you've got hedges, you've got an orange, you've got the Florida Panthers, like the actual panther, you've got a hockey stick. It's all collage together, but it's a beautiful representation of South Florida meets Florida Panthers in a very like stylistic, artistic way. That just kind of highlights the message. Instead of just putting Florida Panthers love South Florida, it's a way that's very artistic.
Yeah.
It's a very nice way. Another client, we worked with DDA FTL, Downtown Fort Lauderdale Agency. They're putting do you know where that tunnel is at?
Sure.
On Federal?
Yes.
Yeah. Federal.
Mm-hmm.
Federal. So a tunnel in Florida. Who would have known, right?
Right.
So where that tunnel is at, they're building a park on top of the tunnel. It's a $15 million building. It's a huge build out. It's great for the city. We need more parks. We need more greenery. And so they're building this park, and they reached out to us and they said, hey, we're building this park. We'd love to add a mural component, to this building that's adjacent to the park. Do you have any ideas? Do you have any artists that come to mind? Of course we do. We presented this incredible local artist. His name is Steven Teller, who painted 3 subjects, local South Florida. So you've got like birds, you've got like orioles that are there, you've got birds, you've got orchids, and you've got succulents. Absolutely incredible. Knowing that the park is being built and just pushing and promoting greenery and green spaces, we ended up painting that mural with an eco-friendly paint. Mm-hmm. Shout out to Smog Armor, another South Florida company. And we painted the mural with this eco-friendly paint. So every gallon of paint that we use is equivalent to planting a tree. So once again, like super rewarding, super great budget. Ended up making it so we could get a badass artist to paint a badass mural for the city. And it's, that's what I love, is like really, really like connecting with our clients and giving them their voice through the arts.
So cool, man.
Dude.
You got to be having fun with this. I mean,
Dude.
I can't imagine this is, sure, just like any business, you have your challenges and you have your good days and bad days, but what a really cool and satisfying thing to be able to do. Right? Because
I wake up with a smile on my face.
Yeah, I say that as somebody, as a marketer, and been in advertising my entire adult career life. Yeah. But it's like, you've got businesses coming to you, asking for essentially a very unlimited creative approach to how to help them market their business, right? It's like you're like a difference maker. You get to really do something that helps that business really stand out in a unique way.
What's interesting is this isn't new, it's just updated. So billboards have been around forever,
Sure.
right? And you pay month to month for a billboard. What we're doing is very similar. You're creating a billboard within the city on a business is essentially what we're doing. But we're doing it in a way that supports the local community. So it's not just a digital artist who creates, a huge billboard that stays, as a temporary installation. We are having local artists that are getting paid for a permanent installation. So same, but updated.
Yeah. It's really cool, man.
It's
really
fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
Did I see somewhere, are you a runner?
I am. My Instagram is Run Dread Run. So like these funky little this bird nest that I have on me. I'm a big time runner. Yeah.
I'm asking because even though I am way out of it, I really 3 years ago got into triathlon and was training
same.
a good bit, and I fell off of it. I'm about to start back in a couple weeks with some training.
You got this.
But I'm really looking forward to it. But is running, is that like, so are you trained for triathlon as well too, or are you just more of a runner? I'm just curious.
I'm coming back from an injury,
Okay.
but yeah, I hate to I think that's like the word nobody wants to hear as a runner. But yeah, it's I love cardio sports. For me, cardio is everything. I think working out your heart is the most important thing you can work out. I mean, how important or how big your muscles are, it's not that important, but your heart's incredible. Running, I've run 1 marathon. I've run over a dozen half marathons. I've done countless 5Ks. Triathlons, love triathlons. That's awesome. I've done a half Ironman.
Have you?
Dude, that was solid.
That's what I was starting to build up to, and then, excuse whatever, just fell off the path a little bit. But that is what I will be building myself back up to. It's just, I love it.
Dude, it was good, man. That it was great. It was great. The training for it, you're in the best peak shape of your life. And then also the community. I feel like the runner community is one of those where everybody is so supportive. Everybody's rooting you on to finish. And even when you finish, everyone's giving high fives. Everyone's congratulations. You get your participation medal, like you've been working so hard to get. And then those that are like really fucking badass, like you get to like stand on podium, and like you get to like, for your age group or for whatever. And it's super rewarding. And it's great at any age. It's great at any age, honestly. Like there's no person that shouldn't go out for a brisk walk, go on a bike, go for a swim. Like
I totally agree.
It's good for you.
I totally agree.
It's just finding time. But
yeah, it's finding time. And sometimes we make decisions. I can say definitively over the last year that I know that I have decided to do other things. Right? I've sidelined some of that, and I also know now that I'm like, oh no. It's those things are kind of coming to their completion. Now it's time to get back into this so the whole puzzle is better. But I love it. Like just the training in and of itself. Some people say, well, you need to sign up for a race to get started. I'm like, no, I really don't. Like I will create my own training schedule, and that in and of itself, like completing that as I build it week after week, that in and of itself is satisfying, right? Like the fact that there's a race in the future, and I think I'll race. I think the first one I'll do is not going to be until November. I feel like I need that much time, but I'm also considering just ramping up all the way to half distance and just jumping back in my first race at half distance, which I've never done before.
I just got invited to the New York Marathon.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Wow, that's killer.
Yeah. It's like a pinch me, I'm dreaming moment. So, we'll see what happens.
Right.
Started running, kind of getting back to it.
Right.
And it's been nice to post injury to kind of get back to it, adding some more mileage. The hair has gotten longer since. So
yeah, that's what anybody would ask is like, okay, the dreads, like how does this factor into your performance? Is it aggravating at times, or do you have ways to deal?
Is it the white elephant in the room? I'd say it's pretty aerodynamic. I don't know.
Totally, dude.
What's great is during those triathlon training months, the swim cap. You know what I mean? Like I'd have this huge swim cap that I'd be wearing. And then the bike helmet, I'd have to have an extra large size. And then, but is it a deterrence, or is it gonna slow me down? I don't really care.
Yeah,
I'm there to race.
Yeah.
If anybody is there to slow me down, it's myself, my heart, and my mind.
That's right.
And everything else is just whatever, a couple seconds here and there.
Yeah.
So.
Awesome.
Yeah, my hair is my strength, right? Fabio or
no, who was it? There was one historical fictional character.
He-Man?
Right? Well, I think he was based on the hair. Who was it? Historically fictional character. Who? Samson.
Yes.
Thank you, Tom.
That's it, Tom.
That's killer.
Yeah. So yeah, I do feel that as well. That like, you know, my hair is everything, but then again, it's also not. You know, it's also just secondary. You know, everything that you need is internal and
Totally.
you need within you, and I think that comes from me as a runner. You know, if you're physically training, it doesn't matter how long your hair is. You've been physically training, you're gonna finish a race. But then also from like a yogi background. You know, a lot of people ask me like, "Hey, are you Rasta, man? Are you Rasta, man?" You know, and I'm like bless up, like much love, and I have a lot of respect for people that are Rasta, and I do follow a more strict, you know, I eat a lot of greens. I'd say eat like a lot of greens. Like 90% of my diet is greens. But I also eat steaks, picanha, filet mignon.
Yeah.
I eat foie gras, pâté de campagne. Like I eat a lot of of everything, you know. Circling back to hair though, and my yoga training, I learned that actually the original start of dreadlocks started in India with yogis, male yogis. That it was a test of patience and of time. And so it was having your hair, having your locks, was a way of showing just kind of like time progressing and your dedication to meditation. And then from India, and then it went back to Africa, and then it became something that was like a very religious thing. And then you know, and then the Rastas pick it up, and so. But yeah, so for me, it's a test of time and of patience. But I love my hair. I love my locks. I love my look. I appreciate it. If it brightens your day, all the better. And if it deters you from hiring me at your job, then all the better, because I don't really want to work for you.
I'm just curious, and I guess we'll take a temporary pause after this point, because I do want to do this again with you sometime. The yoga / meditative thing that you just mentioned, is that a meaningful part of your life, of who you are?
Most definitely.
Yeah?
Yeah, I did my yoga teacher training about 4 or 5 years ago, and I realized from there that it's not what you do on the mat, it's what you do outside of the mat. And I think that was like the biggest lesson that I learned.
Mm-hmm.
And I still to this day meditate daily, and find time to say thanks for the bounty that is all around us. I think you got to really open up your eyes, not necessarily your third eye, but just open up your eyes to this beautiful country that we live in, this incredible state, all the opportunities that are around. If you want it bad enough, keep knocking on doors. Some door will answer, some doors will close, but there'll be many more doors with people, with opportunity, with just that people want to work together, and people want to shine, people want to grow together. You know, let me water you and you water me. You know, I think there's a deeper message there that was taught to me through yoga, and I carry that with me in my company, in my day-to-day, and as a way of life.
That's a beautiful way to I always call it like more like a temporary pause, you know, because it's a conversation that we're having, and it's going to continue.
Yeah,
it's going to continue. Maxence, awesome getting to know you,
dude.
Thanks for coming in, man. I appreciate you sharing your spirit. I can see it in your eyes right now. It's fucking good stuff, man.
Thank you, brother.
Why don't you take a quick second and just let everybody know again where they can find you, where they can find your company.
Cool.
And then we'll wrap it up.
Thank you for the opportunity. I mean, this is great. I've passion speaks from the heart, you know, and so I hope that message was clear. My name is Maxence Doitier, Maxence Doitier, for those that parlez-vous français, right? For those that speak a little French. You could find me on IG, on Instagram at RunDreadRun. That's RunDreadRun. My company is 26 North Productions. It's spelled a little awkward. We did that on purpose. I don't necessarily want you to find me. I kind of want you to be like where, how do I, what? So it's spelled, it's the number spelled. So it's 20 TWENTY, then the number 6, and then NORTH. Let me side note, why did we do 26 north? 26 north degrees, 26 degrees north is the degree latitude of Fort Lauderdale. So we're a Fort Lauderdale based company, which was a big supporter of the arts here in Fort Lauderdale. So 26 north, www.26north.com. You can find us on IG, 26 North Productions, TWENTY, number 6, NORTH Productions, and that's us.
All right, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you had your notepads out. The beauty of it is you can just rewind and listen to it over again. All right, very cool. Maxence, thank you so much for coming in, man. You're always welcome here. Thank you.
Appreciate you, brother.
You got it, man. You too.